I didn't find out gently. I didn't suspect it slowly. I heard it. Her voice. Soft. Warm. Intimate. The kind of voice she hadn't used with me in years. I was standing outside our bedroom door, holding a cup of tea I had made for her. My hand froze before I could knock. She laughed. Not the polite laugh she gives me. Not the tired one. This one meant something. And then she said it. I miss you too. I wish I was there with you instead. My chest tightened so hard I thought I was having a heart attack. There was a pause. Then a man's voice came through the speaker, low, confident. Her boss. I knew that voice. I'd heard it once at a company dinner years ago. I'll make it worth the wait, he said. She whispered back, you always do. I dropped the cup. It shattered. Loud. Silence. Then panic inside the room. She opened the door and saw me standing there, shaking, trying to breathe. And for a moment, she didn't even look guilty. She looked annoyed. That's when I knew. This wasn't new. And I wasn't imagining anything. But what broke me wasn't just the call. It was what she said next. You weren't supposed to hear that. Not I'm sorry. Not it's not what you think. Just inconvenience. Like I had walked in at the wrong time. That's when 25 years of my life started to feel like a lie. And I didn't know yet. That was just the smallest part of it. I kept waiting for her to panic. To cry. To beg. To explain. She didn't. She crossed her arms and looked at me like I was the problem. You're overreacting, she said. Overreacting? I could still hear his voice in my head. I asked her one question. How long? She didn't answer right away. That silence, that hesitation, told me everything. Does it matter? She finally said. That's when something inside me cracked. 25 years. A whole life built together. And she was asking if it mattered. I started naming things. Our kids. Our home. Everything we built. She rolled her eyes. It's not that simple anymore. Not that simple? Then she said something that I will never forget. You stopped being enough a long time ago. That hit harder than the affair. Because suddenly, I wasn't just betrayed. I was replaced. And in her mind, justified. I asked if she loved him. She didn't say yes. But she didn't say no. And that silence? It was louder than anything she could have said. I walked out of the room before I said something I couldn't take back. But as I stood in the hallway, trying to breathe, I noticed something strange. Her phone lit up again. A message. From him. And what I saw on that screen made me realize this wasn't just an affair. This had been planned. I shouldn't have looked. But I did. Her phone lit up again while she was in the bathroom. Same name. No hesitation this time. I picked it up. The message read. Did he find out? If he did, we move the timeline forward. Timeline? My hands started shaking. I scrolled. There were more messages. Weeks. Months. Plans. Trips they never took, but talked about. Conversations about after everything is settled. And then I saw something that made my stomach drop. They'll understand eventually. Especially with your sister on our side. My sister? I read it again. No mistake. My sister. I felt sick. This wasn't just betrayal from my wife. This was deeper. Closer. Someone who knew me my entire life was involved. I heard the bathroom door open and quickly put the phone back. She came out, calm as ever. I stared at her, trying to see if there was any trace of guilt. There wasn't. So I asked her something different this time. Did you tell anyone? She froze for a second. Just a second. But I saw it. Then she shook her head. No. She lied. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. She wasn't just cheating. She was managing this. Controlling it. Planning it. And I had no idea how long I had been living inside a lie. But the worst part? If my sister knew, how many others did too? I didn't confront my sister right away. I couldn't. I needed to be sure. So I called her. Casual tone. Normal voice. I asked how she was. She sounded relaxed. Too relaxed. We talked about nothing for a few minutes. Then I said it. I think something's off at home. Silence. Not confusion. Not concern. Just silence. Then she said, what do you mean? But her voice, it wasn't natural. So I pushed a little. I think she's hiding something. Another pause. Then she sighed. Not surprised. Not shocked. Just tired. Like this conversation was overdue. You should talk to her, she said. That was it. No defense. No denial. No, you're wrong. That's when I knew. She already knew. And she wasn't even trying to hide it. I asked her directly. Did you know about him? Long silence. Then she said something that felt like a knife. I didn't want to get involved. Didn't want to get involved? She was already involved. By staying quiet. By letting it happen. By watching me live a lie. I ended the call without saying goodbye. And sat there, staring at nothing. Because now it wasn't just my marriage that was broken. It was my family. But I still didn't understand why. Why would she do this to me? I was about to find out. And it was worse than I imagined. I started replaying everything. Every holiday. Every visit. Every moment my sister was around us. And suddenly, things didn't feel the same. Moments that once felt normal started to shift. Small comments. Side glances. Times when my wife and sister would exchange looks I didn't understand. I always thought it was just closeness. Now it felt like something else. Like they shared something I didn't. Then I remembered a dinner. About a year ago. My wife had been distant that night. On her phone a lot. I had asked if everything was okay. She brushed it off. But my sister? She stepped in. Give her space, she said. At the time, I thought she was defending her. Now I realized. She was protecting something. I went through old photos. Messages. Trying to find anything that proved how long this had been going on. And then I found it. A picture. A work event. My wife. Her boss. Standing closer than they should be. And in the background. My sister. Watching them. Not surprised. Not uncomfortable. Just aware. That picture changed everything. Because it told me this wasn't recent. This wasn't a mistake. This had history. And my sister had been there, the whole time. But I still didn't know one thing. Why? Why would she help hide this? Why would she betray me like that? The answer came sooner than I expected. And it hurt more than the affair itself. I went to see her. No calls. No warning. I needed to look her in the eyes. When she opened the door, she didn't seem surprised. That told me everything. She let me in. We sat down. No small talk this time. I asked her directly. Why did you cover for her? She didn't deny it. Didn't pretend. She just looked at me, and said something I wasn't ready for. Because you wouldn't have listened. I felt my chest tighten. What does that even mean? She leaned forward. You've been blind for years. Blind? She started talking. About how I worked too much. How I stopped seeing my wife. How I became predictable. Safe. Boring. Every word felt like an attack. But then she said something that changed everything. She was already gone before he showed up. I shook my head. That doesn't justify. I'm not justifying it, she cut in. I'm explaining it. Then came the real truth. She said she didn't tell me because she finally felt alive again. Alive? At my expense? I stood up, angry, shaking. You chose her over me. She didn't even argue. And that silence, that agreement, broke something in me. Because now I knew. This wasn't just betrayal. This was judgment. They didn't just hurt me. They decided I deserved it. But what I didn't know yet was how far they had already gone. I went home with one thought in my head. What else don't I know? So I started checking things I had ignored for years. Bank accounts. Statements. Shared finances. At first, nothing seemed off. Then I noticed small things. Transfers. Not large. Not obvious. But consistent. Same amount. Same timing. Every month. I followed it. And what I found made my stomach drop. The money wasn't going to a bill. Or savings. It was going to a separate account. One I didn't know existed. Her account. Private. Hidden. I checked the dates. This had been happening for over a year. Maybe longer. And then I saw something worse. Withdrawals. Large ones. Around the same time as her work trips. Trips I believed were for conferences. But now, I wasn't so sure. I kept digging. And then I saw his name. Not directly. But connected through a company expense pattern. It was subtle. But it was there. This wasn't just emotional betrayal. This was financial. Planned. Organized. And I had been funding it. That realization hit harder than anything so far. Because it meant one thing. They weren't just having an affair. They were building something. Together. Using my life as the foundation. And I had no idea how deep it went. But I was about to find out. I showed her everything. The account. The transfers. The timeline. I expected denial. Panic. Something. She didn't even flinch. She looked at the papers, then at me. And said, "You weren't supposed to see that yet." Yet? That word stuck with me. I asked her what that meant. She hesitated. Then said something that made my blood run cold. "We were going to tell you, eventually." Eventually? After how long? After what was already done. I asked her if she planned to leave me. She didn't answer. But she didn't need to. Because then she said this. "I didn't think it would hurt you this much." I stared at her. 25 years. And she didn't think it would hurt? That's when I realized something terrifying. She had already emotionally left this marriage. Long ago. I was just, still there. A placeholder. A provider. A convenience. I asked her if she loved me. She looked away. And that was my answer. I walked out again. But this time, something had changed. I wasn't just hurt anymore. I was aware. And awareness is dangerous. Because now, I wasn't reacting. I was starting to think. And the more I thought, the more I realized, this wasn't over. Not even close. I stopped arguing. Stopped asking questions. Stopped reacting. And that confused her. I could see it. She expected anger. Breakdown. Begging. I gave her nothing. Just silence. Calm. Distance. And for the first time, she looked unsure. That's when I knew. The power had shifted, just a little. I started observing. Listening more. Talking less. And things started slipping. Small details. Contradictions. Moments where she forgot what she told me before. Then one night, she got a call. She stepped outside to take it. But this time, I followed. Quietly. And I heard enough. Not everything. But enough. They were talking about timing again. Soon, she said. Everything will be easier soon. Easier? For who? I stepped back before she saw me. But now I knew one thing for sure. They had a plan. A real one. With steps. With timing. And I was part of it. Just not in the way I thought. But the biggest mistake they made? They thought I was still blind. And that was about to cost them everything. I hadn't told the kids anything. I couldn't. Not yet. But something felt off. So I started paying attention. Watching them. Listening. And then I noticed it. Distance. Not from me. From her. Small things. Short answers. Avoiding eye contact. Like they knew something, but didn't want to say it. So one evening, I asked gently, "Is everything okay?" They looked at each other. Then back at me. And that look. It told me everything. They knew. Or at least, suspected. And they were carrying it. Alone. That realization broke me in a different way. This wasn't just hurting me. It was affecting them too. Without them even understanding it fully. One of them finally spoke. "Are you and Mom okay?" I forced a smile. But inside, I was falling apart. Because now the damage wasn't contained. It was spreading. Quietly. Through the people I cared about most. And I realized something important. This couldn't stay hidden anymore. But I needed the truth first. All of it. Because whatever I did next would change everything. I decided to learn more about him. Not emotionally. Not out of jealousy. Strategically. Who was he, really? I looked into his company. His reputation. His history. And what I found wasn't clean. There were rumors. Nothing public. Nothing proven. But patterns. Employees leaving suddenly. Complaints that never went anywhere. And then I found something interesting. A past relationship. With another employee. It ended badly. Very badly. That told me something important. This wasn't new for him. He had done this before. And that changed everything. Because now it wasn't just personal. It was a pattern. A risk. And possibly, a weakness. I wasn't thinking like a husband anymore. I was thinking like someone who needed to protect what was left. And for the first time, I started seeing a way forward. Not revenge. Not anger. But truth. And consequences. But I needed more. Because I still didn't know how deep this went. or how far they were willing to go. And I was about to find out. I went back to the messages. Dates. Times. Patterns. And slowly, a timeline formed. It didn't start a year ago. Or even 2. It started earlier. Much earlier. Small at first. Professional. Then friendly. Then something else. And the moment it crossed the line, it lined up with something I remembered clearly. A time when things at home got distant. Cold. That wasn't random. That was the beginning. And suddenly everything made sense. Every argument. Every silence. Every moment I thought I was the problem. I wasn't. I was reacting to something I didn't know existed. And they let me believe it was my fault. 4 years. That realization didn't just hurt. It changed me. Because now, I wasn't confused anymore. I wasn't doubting myself. I knew the truth. And the truth gave me something I hadn't felt in a long time. Clarity. But clarity comes with responsibility. Because once you see everything clearly, you have to decide what to do next. And I had just made that decision. I didn't confront her again. I didn't argue. I didn't expose anything. Instead, I started preparing. Quietly. Carefully. I gathered documents. Financial records. Messages. Anything that showed the truth. Not to hurt her, but to protect myself. And my children. I spoke to someone. Professionally. Not emotionally. And what I learned confirmed my fears. This situation was bigger than I thought. There were risks I hadn't even considered. Legal. Financial. Custody. And for the first time, I understood the full weight of what was happening. This wasn't just a broken marriage. This was a life being dismantled. And if I wasn't careful, I could lose everything. But here's what they didn't know. I wasn't the same man anymore. The one they underestimated? The one they thought was weak? He was gone. In his place was someone who saw everything, understood everything, and was finally ready to act. But I still needed one thing. One final piece. Something that would change everything. And I was closer to it than they realized. Continue with chapter 14 to 25 with same structure and remember 300 to 350 words per chapter. With a didactic ending. I thought I was preparing. I wasn't. Not really. The moment I sat across from the lawyer, everything became real in a way I couldn't ignore anymore. I laid it all out, 25 years, the affair, the hidden account, my sister's involvement. He didn't react emotionally. He just listened. Then he said something that changed how I saw everything. You're not just dealing with betrayal. You're dealing with positioning. Positioning? He explained it simply. If she had been planning this, if money was being moved, if timelines were discussed, then this wasn't just emotional. This was strategic. And if I reacted the wrong way, anger, confrontation, mistakes, I could lose more than my marriage. I could lose my home, access to my children, financial stability, everything. That hit harder than anything so far. Because now the risk wasn't just emotional pain. It was my future. He told me to stay calm, to gather more, to document everything. And most importantly, let them think they're ahead. That line stayed with me. Because for the first time, I realized something powerful. They weren't careful because they respected me. They were careless because they underestimated me. And that was about to become their biggest mistake. But before I could move forward, something unexpected happened at home. Something that made this even more complicated. And a lot more personal. It happened late. Quiet house. Everyone in their rooms. I was sitting alone, trying to process everything, when there was a soft knock on my door. I opened it. It was my child. Eyes red. Voice shaking. Can I talk to you? That alone told me something was wrong. We sat down. Long silence. Then the words came out. I think Mom is lying to you. My heart dropped. I didn't ask how. I just listened. They started describing moments. Late night calls. Strange behavior. Times when my wife would leave suddenly. But then came something I wasn't ready for. I saw her with him once. Everything inside me froze. They described it simply. No details. Just enough. Enough to confirm what I already knew, but hearing it from them, that broke something deeper. Because now my children weren't just affected. They were witnesses. And they had been carrying this alone. Trying to protect me. That realization crushed me. I asked why they didn't say anything earlier. The answer was quiet. I didn't want to break you. That sentence stayed with me. Because in trying to protect me, they were hurting themselves. And that's when everything changed. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was about them. Their stability. Their truth. Their future. And I knew, in that moment, whatever I did next, had to protect them first. But I still didn't know how far their mother had already gone. A few days later, I heard it again. Not by accident this time. I was listening. Waiting. She stepped outside to take another call. Same tone. Same softness. But this time, I caught more. Clearer. They won't question it if it happens soon, she said. My chest tightened. Then his voice came through. Once everything is finalized, we won't have to hide anymore. Finalized? My mind started racing. Then she said something that confirmed everything. He won't see it coming. That's when I understood. This wasn't just about leaving. They had a plan for how it would happen. A controlled exit. Timed. Prepared. And I was the last piece they were managing. I stepped away before she could see me. But inside, everything shifted again. Because now I wasn't just reacting to what happened. I was ahead of what was coming. And that changed everything. Because if they had a plan, now I could prepare for it. Not emotionally. Strategically. But I still needed proof. Something undeniable. Something that wouldn't just expose them, but protect me completely. And I knew where I might find it. I didn't go there to cause a scene. I went to observe. To understand the environment where all of this was happening. Her workplace. His territory. Everything looked normal on the outside. Professional. Structured. But once I stepped inside, I felt it. Tension beneath the surface. Glances. Whispers. People who knew more than they said. I introduced myself casually. No accusations. No emotion. Just presence. And that was enough. Because I saw it in their reactions. Recognition. Awkwardness. Awareness. They knew. Maybe not everything. But enough. Then I saw him. Confident. Calm. Like nothing could touch him. He shook my hand. Looked me in the eyes. And smiled. That smile told me everything. He didn't fear me. Because he didn't think I knew. And that gave me something powerful. Advantage. But as I was leaving, someone stopped me. Quiet voice. Nervous. You deserve to know the truth. I turned. And in that moment, I realized this was bigger than just my family. Much bigger. We spoke outside. Away from everyone. They were careful. Looking around before every sentence. Then they said it. This isn't the first time. I felt my stomach tighten. They explained slowly. There had been others. Similar situations. Employees. Relationships. Favors. And every time, it was buried. Handled quietly. Protected. That told me something important. This wasn't just an affair. This was a pattern of power. And my wife was part of it now. But then came the real shock. There are records, they said. Documentation. Complaints. Internal reports. Things that never reached the surface. Because they were stopped. That changed everything. Because now this wasn't just personal betrayal. This was something institutional. Something that could have real consequences. But only if handled the right way. I asked why they were telling me. Their answer was simple. Because no one else ever stood up. That stayed with me. Because now I had a choice. Stay silent like everyone else. Or do something that could finally expose the truth. But if I did, there was no going back. I confronted my sister again. This time with more knowledge. More clarity. And she felt it. I could see the shift. I told her everything I knew. About the pattern. The workplace. The truth behind him. She didn't look surprised. Just uncomfortable. Then she said something that hit harder than before. I thought it would work out for her. Work out? At what cost? She admitted it. She believed my wife deserved something better. More excitement. More life. And she thought I couldn't provide it anymore. That judgment cut deeper than anything else. Because it wasn't just betrayal. It was dismissal. Of everything I had been. Everything I gave. Everything I sacrificed. I asked her one final question. If this destroys everything, was it worth it? She didn't answer. And that silence told me everything. Because now even she wasn't sure anymore. But it was too late. Because what was coming next was bigger than all of us. I had everything now. Messages. Financial records. Witness statements. Patterns. Timeline. It wasn't just a story anymore. It was proof. Clear. Structured. Undeniable. And for the first time, I felt something different. Not anger. Not sadness. Control. Because now I wasn't guessing. I wasn't reacting. I was ready. But readiness comes with responsibility. Because what I did next would affect everyone. My children. My future. Even their lives. So I paused. Not out of fear. But out of intention. Because this wasn't about revenge. It was about truth. And consequences. Done the right way. But I needed the right moment. The right setting. The right way to reveal everything. And that moment was closer than they realized. At home, everything looked normal. Too normal. She acted the same. Routine. Calm. Controlled. Like nothing had changed. But now I saw through it. Every word. Every action. Every lie. And strangely, that gave me peace. Because I wasn't trapped anymore. I was aware. Prepared. Waiting. She thought she was managing the situation. Keeping control. But the truth? She was walking straight into something she didn't expect. And I let her. Because sometimes, the strongest move is letting people believe they've already won. But behind that calm, everything was about to shift. And when it did, there would be no way back. I chose the moment carefully. Not emotional. Not reactive. Deliberate. A family setting. Everyone present. No escape. No hiding. My wife. My sister. And the people who mattered most. I didn't start with accusations. I started with truth. Calm voice. Clear words. Step by step. Piece by piece. I laid everything out. The affair. The timeline. The money. The involvement. No shouting. No anger. Just facts. And that made it stronger. Because no one could deny it. I watched their faces change. Shock. Fear. Realization. But I wasn't finished. Because this wasn't just about exposing them. It was about ending the lie. Completely. And what I revealed next changed everything. I explained what I had learned. Not just about them. But about him. The pattern. The history. The system that protected it. And then I said something that shifted the entire room. This isn't private anymore. Because I had already taken the next step. Everything had been submitted. Properly. Legally. To the right channels. Internal. External. Structured. Documented. This wasn't revenge. This was accountability. And suddenly, the situation wasn't under their control anymore. It was bigger. Much bigger. And for the first time, I saw real fear. Because now, the consequences were real. And unavoidable. It didn't happen instantly. But it happened fast. Investigations. Questions. Pressure. Everything they built started falling apart. His position. Her role. Their plans. Gone. My sister? She lost something too. Trust. Respect. Connection. Things that don't come back easily. And my wife, for the first time, looked at me differently. Not with control. Not with distance. But with realization. She understood. Too late. Because by then, everything had already shifted. And there was no fixing it. I didn't win because they lost. I won because I chose not to lose myself. That's the truth. I walked away with clarity. With dignity. With my children still looking at me with respect. And that matters more than anything. Because here's what I learned. Silence protects the wrong people. Truth is uncomfortable. But it's necessary. And being underestimated? That can be your greatest strength. If you stay calm long enough to use it. They thought I was weak. They thought I wouldn't see it. They thought I wouldn't act. They were wrong. Not because I fought harder. But because I chose to stand firm. Without becoming what hurt me. So if you're listening to this. And you're going through something similar. Don't rush. Don't react. See clearly. Think carefully. And act with purpose. Because the strongest ending is the one where you don't just survive it. You grow beyond it. And never allow it to happen again.